You've every day for years had to make difficult and stressful decisions, high stakes, hugely impactful on so many people. When you're making decisions, do you follow your head, your heart, your gut? How do you think about decision making?
I don't know how to separate the three. Many times my heart brings me to the problem. And my gut tells me what I think I want to do. But my head, meaning the research, the back, sometimes says that's the wrong answer. I think you're driven by a value set. You know what you value. You know what you think is important in life. You know what you think is consequential. And I think people who know what they value, doesn't mean they're better or worse, but if you follow your value set, to me, they're kind of basic things. My dad used to have an expression, for real. He said, Joey, everyone's entitled to be treated with dignity. Everybody. Dignity was his word, dignity. And what I find myself looking through the prism, for example, I was at an event the other day where I was talking and we were talking about a problem a mom was having, providing for the health, the needs of a child, of actually a teenager. I said, all I could think of when hearing about not being able to afford the treatment was how she's deprived of her dignity. Imagine being a parent and you can't do anything about it because you don't have the financial wherewithal, because you don't have the connection, you don't know where to go. It's a little bit like, I think the most dangerous, the most hated word in English language and any other language translated is cancer. You have cancer. It just strikes fear in everybody. Well, it's one thing to get an analysis by a great doctor, but you still need someone to guide you through. It's complicated. We're finding significant breakthroughs in cancer. But you need someone to sort of lead you through who knows about it. I think it's the same way with about any problem people have. If there's a way to let people know there's an avenue, there's a way through. I used to have a friend named Bob Gold who died of a heart attack. And I used to say, Bob, do you understand me? He said, Joe, and I don't understand you. I overstand you. But you got to know how to know. And that's why we can be so of little things that can be of enormous value. It's like, you're walking across an intersection. They don't let me do that anymore, but you walk across the intersection and there's an elderly man or woman knowing they're waiting to see if they have enough time. Just grabbing their hand and walking them across. It's a little tiny thing, but the anxiety it relieves.
Yeah, no, that resonates. The idea of the more we're a part of the solution, the less the problem feels overwhelming.
I think so. Now, I have to admit, when you've been through something that's been particularly difficult, helping someone going through it, again, forces you to relive your experience. Like, for example, the people I admire when we have functions where we're trying to make a point how we can help someone with healthcare, whatever it is. The people who've been through it, who show up and support it, I always compliment them because it's like it happened yesterday when you start to focus on it. And it's hard. We underestimate what we can do. I'm not about being president. I mean, just what we can do in terms of dealing with people. I try to understand what is motivating the other person when I'm doing things internationally or personally. Because if you can understand what motivates them, there's a shot, even with the bad guys, you can break through and get something done. There's a way to expose the meanness without causing direct conflict. For example, I remember I went to a Catholic grade school. We didn't often get invited to the cotillion, which was the local school down the street, Mount Pleasant School. And so I got invited and I was going to go. I was all excited about going. I think it was 9th grade, maybe it was 8th grade, a little dance. And there was a guy who was a good athlete. I was a relatively good athlete. He was a good athlete from the school, the other school, big guy. became friends. But so I'm getting dressed, and I didn't have a shirt to wear. So my mother got my uncle's shirt, who was a smaller man than my dad, and French cuffs and rolled up the cuffs so that who looked like it fit. And I couldn't find my dad's. We couldn't find my dad's cufflinks. So my mom went and got a nut and a bolt. I wonder why she was downstairs in the laundry room looking for it, and put them on. I said, "Mom, I can't do this. They'll make fun of me. I'll be embarrassed." She said, "Anybody comes up and says anything to you, you look at them and say," and here's what she told me to say. This guy, Frank, came up to me and said, "Hey, look at Biden. Look what he's got here. Hey." And I looked at him and said, "You don't have a pair of these?" And he said, "Well, yeah, I got a pair." But I'm serious.